Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Jam Moses back with a New York Knicks reaction video. Two pretty significant moves being made by the New York Knicks in the last 24 hours. The news last night, the big trade for Mikal Bridges happened a little too late, at least for me to record a reaction video to it. And then on my way home from work, shout out to my partner in crime here, I brought Cindy, Tony Kara. He was the first to break the news to me that OG Anunoby re-signed with the New York Knicks, or at least he intends to sign with the New York Knicks on a 5-year, $212.5 million contract. All these contracts that you see teams signing players to over the next couple of days up until July 6th, which is the start of the league year, are all going to be kind of like handshake agreements, being like, yeah, I'm going to sign with you once the league year opens on July 6th. 2024, which is not this upcoming Saturday, but the following one, I believe. So yeah, that Saturday on 4th of July weekend, we're going to be seeing signings going left, right, and center. Really interested to see how that day plays out, obviously, but it's kind of nice to not have that anxiety over, is OG Anunoby going to stay with the Knicks or not? There was a lot of talk over the previous couple of days, especially that the $35 million annual number that a lot of Knicks fans like myself were hoping OG was going to sign for was not going to be feasible anymore, because it seemed like a number of teams, one of those probably being the Philadelphia 76ers, were probably offering OG the max, and at least the max that they could offer him. And so OG, you know, with the Knicks, benefits from getting a fifth year on his contract, which the Knicks were the only team that could offer him a fifth year, and the Knicks were the only team that could offer him a player option, I believe, on that fifth year. So both of those go in OG's favor, and what kind of goes in the Knicks' favor is the Knicks didn't have to sign him to a 5-year contract worth the max that they could pay him, which would have been, I believe, $240 million, right? Because it would have been 48 annually on average. If you take a look here, Fred Katz broke down his lowest possible starting salary with this current contract would start at $36.6 million, and it would work its way up to 48.3 in that fifth year, where OG does have the player option. This is all like very rudimentary level stuff. I want to see over the next few days. Maybe we're not going to see this until July 6th, when the contract is officially signed, what the different incentives are like. I want to believe that the 212.5 is OG's like maximum number or maximum amount of money he can make on this contract. And I wonder if there are going to be different incentives that OG has to hit, such as X number of games being played, stuff like that, for OG to meet each of these cap numbers or these salary numbers for each year. But regardless, this is what the contract is going to probably look like for OG. We'll have to see. I trust Brock Aller in the Knicks front office. He's been a cap wizard. He's done a tremendous job with a lot of the contracts that the Knicks have orchestrated with their players over the last few seasons. So I have faith not only in Leon Rose, who's running the show with the New York Knicks as the Knicks president, but also guys like Brock Aller, who are working behind the scenes and not getting, I think, nearly enough recognition, who are constructing these contracts. So OG, great to have him back. I don't have to really talk that much about his value. The Knicks were something like 20 wins and 3 losses with him on the court this year. And I really think that series against the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference semis changed for the New York Knicks when OG Anunoby goes down. They only win one more game after losing OG Anunoby, and you could, you know, kind of point to that point in that series as the pivotal turning point where the Indiana Pacers, in my opinion, got the advantage over the New York Knicks talent-wise. OG was so pivotal to that team, and obviously the injuries are a really big concern, but I think this is a move that the Knicks had to make. You know, the minute they traded RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly for OG Anunoby, I knew that OG Anunoby was going to be staying with the Knicks long term. And again, the Knicks get him back for 5 years, and they get him for what, $28 million or so, less than the max that he could have signed for with the Knicks. So and there was a tweet from Ian Begley that I have somewhere. I think I may still have it saved. Let me see. I do. Look at that. Shout out to me for once being somewhat organized. Ian Begley, right here in this tweet, you can see OG Anunoby would have had max offers coming from other places, per sources monitoring the wing market. But Anunoby saw the vision with the Knicks and wanted to help build a true contender in the Garden. There was a clip floating around Twitter today where I think after the last Knicks-Nets game, you can see Mikal Bridges comes up and he's talking to Brunson and DiVincenzo and Hart. And you can just see OG Anunoby kind of hanging out, talking it up over there. And now that those two guys are on the Knicks for the 2024 season and onward from there, I kind of feel like those talks of, all, in that case, all five of those players, right? OG and the four Nova Wildcats who are now all in the Knicks. I feel like those talks of pairing up or teaming up together might have started back then. So really exciting stuff. I'm really glad that OG's back. I will briefly touch on the Mikal Bridges trade because I did not get to talk about it when it came down last night. Obviously, this is a lot to give up draft pick wise for a guy in Mikal Bridges, who some people view as a role player. I mean, you could call OG Anunoby a role player, and the Knicks just gave him $212.5 million over 5 years. I just think, there's a person who I look up to in a way, who works for MSG because of her work that she's done in terms of being a sideline reporter, a broadcaster, and just a really enthusiastic basketball mind who I think does a great job on MSG Network and ESPN, and that woman is Monica McNutt. I know she got into a spat with Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and I was really not a fan of that because Stephen A. Smith was saying that he put Monica McNutt on the map. Monica McNutt has been on the map. Stephen A. Smith just found out who she was. And that, I think, is really a bad look for Stephen A., but I'm not here to bash Stephen A. We can do that another time. Monica McNutt went on one of my favorite Knicks podcasts I listened to with John Macri and the Knicks Film School. And on that podcast, Monica McNutt said something along the lines of, for this offseason for the Knicks, her primary goal, if she was running the Knicks, would be to, quote, protect the culture at all costs. And I think going out and getting Mikal Bridges, even if you had to give a few more first rounders than you'd probably be comfortable giving up in most scenarios, it makes sense because you're not just protecting the culture, you're enhancing the culture. And for that reason alone, I really love this move. Obviously, the basketball fit, it's amazing. With Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, the Knicks become that much more versatile, especially defensively. The Knicks get even more floor spacing. Now you can move DiVincenzo to being on the bench again, which is where he started last season when Quentin Grimes was our starting two guard, and I think Mikal Bridges is a pretty significant upgrade over a Quentin Grimes as a starting two guard, even though I really wanted Quentin to pan out for the Knicks. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't really have too much else to touch on this. I also think that the Knicks had to give up a lot of draft capital because of the fact that Mikal plays for the Brooklyn Nets. So that's something else to factor in. The Knicks have not traded with Brooklyn prior to this trade last night since I think 1983, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, really excited about that. A couple other really quick notes. I don't think that this trade is going to be the finalized version of the trade. And that's because as of right now, the Knicks are bringing in more salary because Mikal Bridges is making $23 million. You can see right here, roughly, this season. And they traded out Bojan Bogdanovic, who's making about $19 million. So because the Knicks are taking on $4 million more, that hard caps the Knicks. And I believe they're at the first apron now because of that. And if that ends up staying true through the league year beginning on July 6th, meaning if this trade is not touched, if the details aren't touched, then the Knicks will basically have no way of retaining Isaiah Hartenstein. Their ability, at least to my understanding, to offer him 4 years, $72 million will be off the table, and that would really suck. Now, maybe iHeart ends up signing with a team like Oklahoma City for something like, 2 years at $27 million annually, and the Knicks just can't compete with that. The max they can offer is $18 million a year, basically, through that early birds right deal that the Knicks can give them. But I feel like the Knicks will find a way, because again, I trust Brock Aller, I trust Leon Rose. The Knicks will find a way to get under the second apron by getting the salary in this Mikal Bridges trade to be even. So, whether they have to, shed salary in a trade, which I will talk about shortly, or like in a separate trade, if they have to bring in a third team, or if they have to include someone else in the deal. I don't know if the Knicks can sign and trade Precious Achiuwa, and then include him as that offsetting salary filler to Brooklyn. Maybe they can do that. I really don't know. I don't get paid by the NBA to cover any of this stuff. I'm just a really big fan of the NBA as a basketball product, and I really enjoy the offseason and getting to crunch these numbers. I nerd out, and it's a lot of fun, for me at least. One trade I want to leave you guys with, because the NBA draft starts in 8 minutes from right now, so I want to get this video out hopefully before the draft. The Knicks have been talking to the Washington Wizards, at least that's my understanding from what I've been reading on Twitter from people like Ian Begley, who I trust when it comes to Knicks coverage. The Knicks have been talking to the Washington Wizards about Mitchell Robinson, and the Wizards just made a trade about an hour or so ago, sending Deni Avdija to the Trailblazers for Malcolm Brogdon, a first rounder this year and a first rounder in 2029. I wonder if the Washington Wizards, because they still are a cap space team, if they would take Mitchell Robinson and his salary, which is I think pretty team friendly, along with one of the Knicks draft picks tonight, like whether it's 24, 25, and then give the Knicks the 14th overall pick, which is the Washington Wizards selection. Because if they do that, then they get, I think, a pretty talented center in Mitchell Robinson, who I still believe in. I feel like the Knicks don't beat Philadelphia in round one without Mitchell Robinson clamping up Joel Embiid. And for the Knicks, they get some cap relief. I think doing that trade and then picking at 14 and then either at 24 or 25, whichever pick they don't give up, will allow the Knicks to slide under the second apron, and that'll again give them room to offer that 4-year, $72 million contract to iHeart. That way you can bring back iHeart. Maybe you draft a center. I really like Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware is a center that I want the Knicks to draft. If they draft a center, either him or a guy like Kyle Filipowski. I was saying in my video that I uploaded earlier this week that Kyle Filipowski, in a way, could be a budget Isaiah Hartenstein because of his playmaking ability as a center. But yeah, that's my prediction as of right now. I can see the Knicks making a trade tonight, moving up, including Mitch in a deal, sending him to a cap space team like the Wizards, and then drafting maybe a backup center on a rookie scale contract. And then the Knicks would still have that taxpayers mid-level. You can go and get a guy like Goga Bitadze from the Orlando Magic, who's a free agent right now. And I think he would be a solid backup center because, you know, I think the Knicks want versatility, but I don't think they want to give up having centers on their team. I just don't know if the Knicks want to spend, you know, $13-14 million annually on Mitchell Robinson and then give Isaiah Hartenstein potentially $18 million a year. That may be too much money for the Knicks to be putting towards their center position when they have all these other players making big bucks on their team. So anyways, that's the video. I'm going to try to get another video out later on tonight once the Knicks conclude with their draft picks, and then I may open up a couple of next packs that I may have sitting in my unopened packs when I'm recording. So we'll have to see. If you guys are looking for my team content, hopefully you guys will have that to look forward to. I appreciate you guys hopefully watching this and giving this content of mine a chance. I'm a huge fan of the Knicks, like I said, and I really enjoy the offseason, especially during times like this where we have the Knicks making 2 massive moves in a 24-hour span. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope your team, if you're watching the NBA draft tonight, drafts the players that you want. And if they don't, I hope the players that your team drafts surprises you in the coming years. I'll see you guys later tonight. Go Knicks.